Hello, Coach Holmes here, and today we're going to be talking about trigonometry, but this time we're going to be finding the angle of the triangle. So, for example, I'm given two different lengths. I'm given a length of 3 and a length of 5. Okay, so, and I want to solve for this x here. I want to be able to figure out what that angle is. So, right now, one of the things I got to know is what do I have? Well, from this perspective, I have my opposite and my adjacent. So if you recall, what trig actually has opposite and adjacent in it? Tangent. So I'm doing tangent of x equals to opposite over adjacent, which is 3 over 5. Now, in order to solve it, I still going to need to use a calculator. But you want to make sure that the calculator is in degrees and not radian. And you do that by checking your mode. Okay, you want to check your mode, click on degree. Okay, and that's all you got to do with that. Okay, just go to mode, highlight where it says degree, click on it, and you should be good to go to be able to find the angle. And that's all you want to be able to do right now. That's what we're focusing on today, finding the angle. So, but as far as this though, I can't really do much with tangent of x equals 3 over 5. But what I can do is do what we call inverse, which is basically the opposite. So I want to find the inverse of tangent. So what I will do is I should move this over, but I gotta put a -1 over there, okay? 3 over 5. Because I gotta do the opposite of tangent, which will be inverse tangent. Now, how can I type this into the calculator? So if I wanna type this into the calculator, first thing I wanna do is I wanna press second. I want to press 10, 3 divided by 5. And that's all I got to be able to do. So if I type it into the calculator, and I'll show you right here. So I'll put second tangent 3 divided by 5. Press enter, and that's giving me 30.96 degrees. Okay? And that's how I'll be able to find my angle. That's how I find the missing angle. Now, so again, as far as finding the angle by using the inverse of sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse. Okay, so I want to use the inverse of each trig. Okay, but that depends on which trig I'm going to use, because remember, there's one trig that could work for one triangle, but not the other. So I want to make sure I'm using the right one. So, this right here. I have opposite over adjacent. So I'm doing tangent of x equals 45 over 55. Well, again, how do I find it? Do the inverse. So I do x equals tangent inverse 45 over 55. Check my calculator. And that's going to give me 39.29 degrees. Okay? Now, looking at number 2, I have my opposite and my hypotenuse. So what trig function would I use? Simple, I would use sine. So sine of x equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Now I could reduce it, but to make sure if I get it right, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So there could be a possibility you could reduce this, but just leave it as it is just to be safe. So I want to make a sine inverse 9 over 12. Check my calculator. And that will give me 48.59 degrees. And that will give me the angle for x. That will give me angle x, 48.59 degrees. Next, I want to be able to find this angle here. Well, I have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So what trig do we need to use? We need to use cosine. So cosine of x is equal to 12 over 28. So remember, I'm going to take the inverse of it. So I can do it like that. So I'm doing x equals cosine inverse 12 over 28. Check my calculator. And x is going to give me 64.62 degrees. Okay, so I can still use the inverse of each three. Okay, but we just got to be able to recognize which one we use. So last one. So right here I have my opposite and I have my adjacent. So how do I go about solving this? Well, I gotta know which trig to use. And again, opposite over opposite adjacent, that gives me tangent. So tangent of x equals to 54 over 27. Inverse 10. Sorry about the right. Inverse tangent of 54 over 27. And that gives me 63.43 degrees. So again, the biggest thing we have to be able to do when it comes to finding the angle is doing the inverse of that triangle. The inverse of that trig, I mean. Okay? And it's important to be able to do that in order to find the angle. So as long as we're able to set up our ratio correctly, all we need to do is put inverse of that trig and then put the ratio inside the parentheses. Thank you and have a good day.